everybody. Pen here with Yogacises. I have Bari or Devaya here again today, and I'm really excited to have her here because last time we had the most views on YouTube and on the podcast. She's so popular, like everybody wanted to join in, and I'm like, I have to have you here back again. I'm so glad that you're here again. Thank you for taking your time for being here. I'm really honored to have you. So let's just a little short intro again before we get started for those that haven't watched the first one. I'll make sure that I have the link for the first one below, and then we'll continue from there. Today's topic is going to be about astrology and anything else that comes, later as we go. But the main topic will be astrology. So I'll let you take over.
Well, thank you, Pam. I'm having fun. Thank you, viewers. I'm very honored and grateful. And I've been working the holistic arts or in the esoteric arts with astrology since 1996. And I use astrology to help the client better accept themselves, because this is just who we are. So can we look at our positive aspects and focus on those instead of how our minds are trained to look at the ugliness of ourselves. And I also use astrology to guide people with a better diet that I call functional nutrition. That's about it. Every planet is an organ, and every organ is part of a meridian. And so some people, just by looking at their chart, it's obvious that they can eat a certain way or not eat a certain way. Some of us are more sensitive than others. And as far as the astrology wheel, from Aries all the way to Pisces, is also like we're growing up. Aries is the first sign of the wheel, and so it's the I, it's the ego. It does the Aries because it's more than just the sun, but look at the sun, the rising, or the moon. Usually, like people with an Aries moon tend to be extremely impulsive. And it's nothing personal, but they just go wherever they want to go, where their emotions take them. So if we're in a relationship and maybe we need more attention, or it's just not part of our personality, just that probably we need more attention, then that person probably wouldn't be great for us. Or that we could understand that it's nothing personal because they just go wherever the fire or the wind takes them, as their emotions want to be fulfilled. So Aries, it's not that they're selfish, they're just the self. They're being reborn. We're all just getting to know ourselves again through Aries. It's impulsive. They say it's warlike, but it's just part of the impulsiveness. I mean, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the planet of war, but it's also the planet of an initiation, of movement, of energy. And since they're impulsive, I guess there's not much patience, and so maybe that's what makes them warlike. And then if we go over to Taurus, Taurus is the second house, and it's almost like when we're like the terrible twos. Now we're finding what works for us. It's the our physical world, our material world. Where does our money come from? How are our assets? And whereas Aries is I, Taurus, with the terrible twos, is like my way or the highway. Or we can say they're extremely passionate about what they want to do, and so changing their mind is usually a lost cause. They'll change their mind when they're ready. They need to feel very safe and secure, because it's a earth sign, earth female sign, and earth signs are physical, and that's why it reflects our assets or our monetary or secret place where money comes from. Not secret, but I'm not actually going to work to make that money. Like, I get money from the arts. Now, if I had Taurus maybe in the 12th house, The house of Pisces, I get money from the spiritual arts, for example. And then if we go around the wheel more, we get to the third house of Gemini. And Gemini is ruled by, well, going back to Taurus, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of love. So if we have Taurus on our chart, without a doubt, we're going to be attractive. Definitely attractive, handsome, good-looking, artistic, whether it's usually with the hands, they could build, the woodworking, clay, painting. I mean, finger painting, it could come back for adults. I think that's a great freedom of expression. And as far as organs are concerned, if we went all the way back to Aries, sorry folks, going back to Aries, we got Mars, and Aries rules the head and the muscles and the blood system. So those are things that will be sensitive. Maybe somebody gets headaches, although that's more from digestion. But the muscles are sore a lot. Those are things that will be more prevalent. And then with Taurus, it's the kidneys and the thyroid. And so Taurians might be more prevalent to have hypothyroid or hyperthyroid, or thinning of the hair, bruising easily, everything that's related to the kidneys. And then going to Gemini again. Hi, we're back. Gemini. Gemini is a third house of communication, ruled by Mercury. It's the air sign. Mutable, like rolls of the wind. I kind of give it a dragonfly is what I associate with, because it's a figure 8. There's always a change of movement. The third house is the house of short trips and communication. So, like, if the third house in somebody's chart is packed, I'm going to assume, I'll ask, that they have excellent relationships with their brothers or family. They talk a lot. They move a lot. They do short trips for work. Gemini rules the arms, the hands, and the lungs, everything that's air-oriented. So maybe they'll get more head colds or flus, coughs. I'm going to make a huge generalization, but they can be more thin up top now because they're air. And then the fourth house is Cancer. And tomorrow we have an eclipse in Cancer. The second, we have eclipse in Cancer. And Cancer is the fourth house. It's the house of roots. It's the house of the mother. It's the house of security. And then if we even look at a crab on the beach, a crab does not walk in a straight line. It goes and hides. So if you're thinking about anybody that you know, or family member or friends that are Cancer, it's really hard to be part of their tribe. Their shell protects all their softness within. They're not that, they're fire, and their cardinal signs, so they're fire and water. So they initiate things, but to be part of their crowd, they're not ones to be overly sharing, because they go and they hide within their hole. They're not going to be that direct. It's the house of our mother, so sometimes on the astrology chart, wherever the fourth house falls, could actually be the sun sign of our mother. It reflects how we were brought up. For example, if we have Virgo in the fourth house, our house could be really organized, could be service-oriented. We could have been brought up with being more aware of how to eat healthy. Cancer rules the stomach and the breasts, so always around the moon, because the moon rules Cancer also. Anytime around a full moon or a new moon, we might be more sensitive. Our digestive systems might be more sensitive. Or those that have Cancer oriented, the breast could be more sensitive. They could be more prevalent to things happening in the breast or the stomach. Digestion. Anyways, everything's about digestion. And then the fifth house is Leo, and that's the house of creation. So if I have the fifth house packed, I could maybe, it's really easy to procreate, depending what signs there. Like if I have Capricorn in the fifth house, procreate, having a child, maybe no, or if we have a child with Capricorn in the fifth house, one parent is in charge more than the other. It's more weight, as opposed to Leo itself being in the, because that's the fifth house is Leo, or Scorpio in the fifth house. You could either totally get pregnant or not get pregnant at all, because Scorpio is ruled by its sex organs and the sigmoid colon. Trying to think of another one. Well, Scorpio, Cancer, all those signs more. Well, Cancer is a sign of like the Madonna, the Mother Mary. So with those signs in Leo, a female, I'd say they have much more prevalence to. It'd be really easy to get pregnant. And then with great signs in the fifth house, the signs of creation, you're probably so artistic, and it's really easy to get your art out into the world as well, because we're birthing ourselves, we're birthing our own projects. And so if that house is packed with Capricorn's a sign of responsibility. So like if it had Leo in it, Cancer in it, an outgoing sign, Taurus, because Taurus is so fertile anyways, and then you put it in the fifth house, the projects would probably take flame in a second. Leos are ruled by the sun, which is our heart and our spinal column, the lower back. Yeah, those are the most sensitive for Leos. And they like to be the center of attention when they choose to. Extremely generous when they choose to. Fixed sign. So they're also not like Taurus, my way or the highway, but they're any fixed sign. They believe they're very rooted in their belief system. So it's not very easy to change their mind, which is awesome. Fixed signs in a chart will help us finish projects. If I have a bunch of cardinal signs like Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, then maybe I'll start 1,000 projects, but I'll never finish any. But Leo's super creative, dance, the performing arts, drum circles. Even, if I had the planet of Saturn in Leo, Saturn being the planet of lessons, maybe something that would help me feel more comfortable out in the public or being a performing artist, would be to drum or to dance, be part of a circle of dance or drumming. And then we get into the sixth house of Virgo. All the signs below, we're all growing. So going back to Aries, we're just being born. Taurus is a terrible twos. And then probably, we're really mobile by the time 4 or 6. And Gemini is about communication. And then we move into the home. I'm getting to understand myself more with Cancer. Leo could be a young adolescent. And when we're coming into Virgo, which is planet of service. So turning the planet of service around, Virgo rising, or the sun, the moon, or a lot of planets in Virgo. Virgo can be critical because it's a sign of improvement, making better. So if we have a big dose of Virgo in our chart, how can we be really careful in my wording? Because hopefully I'm not poking a finger. No, so how can I help someone and not offend the person at the same time? Virgoians it's a planet of improvement and health. They have a tendency to have very sensitive digestive systems. Virgo rules the pancreas, the small intestine, and the pancreas, the part of the pancreas that does digestion. The pancreas, the small intestine, and the gallbladder. Usually, Virgoians might even be missing the enzyme to digest beans. Really sensitive, mutable sign, easily influenced. Virgo, I'd have to say, with a good diet, they feel like the world, grounded. So their profession will be more oriented to health, very organized. They say the sun, people with their sun in Virgo, they know where everything is, but to the naked eye, nothing looks too organized. But with Mars or Jupiter or Virgo rising or the moon, everything's kind of square, really oriented. Everything's in, separate in their bags, very prepared for traveling. You want a Virgo with you. Probably nothing will be missing, depending how the Virgo is. I have Virgo rising in a full moon, so I am full of it. And then the seventh house of relationships. Now we're starting to move into the other when we get into Libra. First, it's all about ourselves. And then we move into Libra, the house of relationships, contracts, marriage, businesses, corporations. We're starting to deal with the other, less me-oriented. And, so if we have Libra, big doses of Libra in our house, in our chart. If we have the sun in the seventh house, relationships will be a central theme to our lives. So maybe that will make us a therapist. We could even be working in a grocery store. But we're always having an interaction with our community, with our public. Libra is ruled by the kidneys as well, because it's ruled by Venus. So without a doubt, Librians, the Venus and Taurus were earth signs, were more solid. The bones may be bigger, much more presence in an earthy way. And then in Libra, with Venus and Libra, it's actually masculine. It's a cardinal air sign, and so we begin programs, we begin projects. Anybody with just Mars and Libra in their chart, they may have a hard time finding who am I, as opposed to being in service for other. You can get lost. So with Libra, again, you've got to watch those kidneys, thinning of the hair, bruising easily. Those are our signs that the kidneys need toning. No, not that there's something wrong with us. There's plenty of ways. The body is a machine. So how can I have to have much more patience than with allopathic medicine. But how can I get out of my own way? Can I get my mind out of the way for the body to heal itself? It's extremely Virgoian, health-oriented. And so the seventh house, going back to Libra, the kidneys, beauty, the arts, culture, justice. Maybe they'll end up being with Jupiter and Libra. Maybe they'll be a lawyer, but they're always looking for justice. They like to being alone, depending upon the rest of their chart. But usually Libra, because it has to do with relationship, they just love to be with other people. They always have business with somebody else. Moving into the 8th house of Scorpio. 8th house is Scorpio is the house of corporations. They're excellent in big business. They're also, they're like the owl of the chart, or the detective, the Sherlock Holmes of the chart. They totally know how to read everybody. Water signs know how to read everybody, but Scorpio, because they're an earth solid sign, it's earth and water. They love darkness, which is another part of Scorpio, but they're just so grounded, the earth water, that they don't even question how they read people in a second, which is awesome. You can only have a corporation can have progress and be successful because you know how to work people. whether it's on the other side of the table or the people that are working with us. That's how corporations work. So they're excellent at corporations, big business, the detective. They are ruled by the sexual organs as well as the last part of the colon, the sigmoid colon. So Scorpios will either like easily get pregnant or not get pregnant at all. Same thing could be like a prostate problem or infertility. It's just X or Y, black or white. Even endometriosis, when you have all those cysts inside, that could be part of influence of Scorpio. And the sigmoid colon, you could be prone to spastic colon, where the colon is kind of like, feel like there's a whole bunch of movement in the colon, hurts to sit down or walk. And it's a lot of spicy foods, a lot of acidic foods, very sensitive to that. They're not going to share. They're not as evasive as Cancer that goes from side to side and in the hole, but Scorpio will go into its cave. They're not going to be right out there sharing everything. And actually, by going into their darkness, into the cave, the Scorpios, if there's a light on, if you live in a place where there's Scorpios, which I do in the jungle, they're not going to be around. They live in the darkness. They also will kill themselves before they'll be killed. And they'll sting themselves. The sigmoid colon is like the last part of their tail. If you've ever seen a Scorpio and he moves his tail up and down. It's also the sting of their mouth. Maybe if I have Mercury in Scorpio, Mercury, the planet of communication and hands, maybe I was holding it in, I get real resentful. Next thing you know, it's like the stuff that comes out of my mouth is really stingy. And being a Scorpio, being the sun, the moon, rising, Mars, Jupiter in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, all those personal planets. And I could say I'm passionate instead of saying I'm jealous. I think it's in human nature to have jealousy because it's the polarity of fear and love. And so when we're being jealous, we're afraid of not being loved. So can I be aware of those tendencies within myself instead of allowing those tendencies to run my life? And it's a fixed sign. Scorpio goes into the dark. And so can we also be aware of the fact that I can have some really deep, dark moments? But it's not like I'm going to be down forever. And it's part of the rejuvenation. Scorpio's like the Phoenix, like in the X-Men. So it might not be comfortable, but Scorpio's always in a rebirth cycle. The 8th house of corporations, sex, it's deep. And then we go into the 9th house where it starts to lighten up. We're in Sagittarius. We're no longer in a cave. We like the outdoors. And we're mythical. We're half man. We're half woman, half man, half beast. The beast, being a half man, half beast. The beast being a horse. Sagittarius is a fire sign, but it's a mutable fire sign, so it's not going to take action or be fixated on doing something. It's more philosophical. I mean, Sagittarius, the 9th house, is the house of philosophy, where our way of interpreting life, the great outdoors, independence. So thinking about a horse, usually a horse isn't just going to get up and go run somewhere. It has to be invited to run somewhere. So as far as a fire sign, Sagittarians can think a lot. They can be out in the great outdoors and be like eating the grass and thinking a lot. So they're not one to take a lot of action. They're one to think a lot in a faraway way. They need to be independent, be outdoors. They love animals. perhaps with somebody with a lot of Sagittarian in their chart, they might not want to have children. No. Or they crave that independence. The ninth house is also the house of traveling, the foreigner. So if I have a dose of the ninth house in my chart, like in my ninth house, which is the house of the foreigner, I have I have Jupiter and Venus in Aries. Well, Jupiter is huge. The whole solar system sits in Jupiter. And that's what rules Sagittarius. It's just huge. So I'm just like lost in thought form in a certain way. It's like doesn't take action. And I have Venus, which is love. So I have so much love for higher learning and so much love for the foreigner. And I live in Costa Rica, and I've married 2 foreigners, and I speak a couple foreign languages. So, for example, so and as a side note, I've met quite a few Sagittarians because I do body work that was Sagittarius rising or their moon or Mars in Sagittarius. I swear, their tailbone is a little bit longer than normal. Like they're part of their tail of having a horse tail, half man, half beast. They are ruled by the liver. So avoiding, usually the tendency is for really rich foods. Not even like a Taurian rich. Taurians will probably like, until they can't digest it anymore. I mean, maybe they can. But they usually just love like dairy rich, creamy foods, like really creamy cheeses. And Sag, they too, but being mutable sign and like the great outdoors, all that heaviness is really going to weigh down their liver. And so that could create a lot of being a fire sign, it can create a lot of impatience and inner anger, which we project onto others until we're aware of it. And then we come to the 10th house of Capricorn. And right now we have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of the skeletal system. It's a sign of structure, the churches, the governments. And we have now Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. So if we all reflect on our lives, what's been happening since 2008, depending upon our age, we have Pluto there. Pluto's a sign of explosions, of change. Capricorn is a cardinal sign, so it's fire and earth. Anything with earth is not going to move too quickly. We have the force of gravity. Now when people are like, oh, I'm so stressed out, life's such a stress. Well, just getting up out of bed is work because we have to stand up against the force of gravity. So Capricorn's not going to move fast. With Pluto in Capricorn since 2008, we've seen governments maybe crumbling, but we've seen a lot of discord in governments changing. When we had Jupiter and Scorpio, that was when the Weinstein and the Bill Cosby scandals came into greater light. Those are like scandals, sex scandals coming into light. Jupiter's huge, Scorpio sex. And so we have Pluto in Capricorn. I'm not sure if it's until 2022 or 25. So we're more than halfway through all that change. And now we have its natal Saturn, planet of Saturn in Capricorn. And we're here in Costa Rica, I'm watching to see what will happen with all these, with the rate of inflation. Like, what will the people do? How will the change be taking place? How do the regular people live? People that now have just such scarce income. What do they do as the prices keep rising? Our food costs more here than in the United States, or it's the exact same. The minimum wage is maybe like, I don't know, it could be $4 an hour. and I'm sure they're not going to pay more. And then that's how the world is here. And actually, Costa Rica is on the tropical Capricorn, and which is the opposite of India, which is a tropical Cancer. Everybody's like, "Hey, what's everybody doing?" And in Costa Rica, now everybody, in 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 quotes, because I love it here. Yeah, I'm not saying anything derogatory, but everybody's in control or knows how to fix it. Everybody's the mayor, so to speak. And so we're experiencing change on planet Earth. Even the planet Earth with its a little bit more earthquakes, the changes that are happening on planet Earth with the Capricorn, the structure of the Earth changing. But we're all now, I'd have to say, everybody feels the Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. We're all feeling a little bit boxed in. And maybe we don't feel like there's as many choices. We go through our Saturn return every 27 to 30 years. It lasts like 2.5 years. I think Saturn goes through a planet every 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.25 years. So like every 2.5 years, Saturn will change his sign. And for example, when I was in my Saturn return, my first one between 27 and 30, I moved to Costa Rica. Now, I moved to Costa Rica. I got married. I used to work at Skidmore College in upstairs New York. I decided to teach yoga. I studied yoga, massage. I didn't get into astrology until a couple years later. But, my life changed. When we're in a Saturn return, our life it's not as open. It changes. We get a little bit more serious. Like the planet of Capricorn is to be serious. Capricorns mature like a good wine. They just become more beautiful as a person as they get older. They are the perfect managers. From hiring somebody for a corporation or even a supermarket, a little store that I want to, see if I can trust them. I can look at the chart and see, do they have Mars in Capricorn? Do they have Jupiter in Capricorn? Where is Capricorn in their chart? And that's one way of interpreting how people can work for us. We're in our second Saturn return between 55 and 30. It's probably 55, 56, and 58. And then if we're lucky enough, we go through our third one around 83, 84, 86. And that's also when we're in our Uranus return. If we're 84, Uranus takes 84 years to go around, which rules the planet of Aquarius, getting into Aquarius. The 11th house, the house of community, the new age, the Aquarian age. Where's the Aquarian age? Everybody's asking. Well, we have Saturn in Capricorn. So we're still in the old structure. And next year, 2020, Saturn goes into Aquarius. And we're finding structure in Aquarius is deep, dark space. There's no way. That's another fixed sign, a fixed air sign. So they're bringing in all these new ideas, these new age ideas of living in community, everybody getting along, helping one another. And that's so supposedly the new age, or the age of Aquarius, begins when Saturn enters Aquarius. These are people, if we have our 11th house pact, or the sun in the 11th house, or Mars, or the moon, usually we do great in groups. We feed off the group. We're meant to be in a group, maybe even a group leader. If we have Saturn in the 11th house, maybe the lesson is to be in groups, to find that comfort in groups. Like if I have Saturn in Leo, the lesson is, can I have fun? Can I let go? Can I be spontaneous? And maybe starting next year, we'll start seeing even more communities forming. Self-sustained communities. We've always had our gated community, but now maybe we'll have more self-sustained communities that are more prevalent. because they've been here, but as Saturn enters Aquarius, maybe we'll hear of them more. Or maybe as Saturn enters Aquarius, maybe as an individual or as a family unit, all of a sudden we decide that we want to get up, and maybe we're in our Saturn return. We want to get up and move to a community, self-sustained community. And obviously with Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, this is a lifetime of spiritual evolution. Most with Pisces, because it's the last sign. But with Capricorn, we're learning not to be as controlling, because we're the manager. We are a control freak. We know the best way to do it. But everybody has their way of doing things. And then we move into Aquarius, which is New Age. Aquarius rules the ankles and the hips. The nervous system, Uranus rules Aquarius. Lightning bolts of intuition. Perhaps if I have huge doses of Aquarius in my chart, and in Leo, which is its opposite, maybe I'm even prone to epileptic fits. Now, with a lot of Uranus in my chart, if I'm not careful with my diet, maybe I'll burn the myelin sheathing, which is like the rubber coating of our nervous system, and I'll have maybe I'll have a dis-ease of where the body moves a lot, like a Parkinson's or a cerebral palsy. I've seen a lot more of that stuff at a younger age from Europe. There was a couple of years ago where I had 23 people that were 28 in their Saturn return from Italy and Spain, and they already had all these diseases that I associate with an older age. And with a change of diet, because they were eating a lot of foods that were like burning through them, irritating probably their intestines, and that was their way of dealing with the degenerative diseases of the body. So Uranus rules the nervous system. They're not one to sit still. And the Uranus and Aquarius is lightning bolts of intuition, just seeing how that lightning bolt of seeing how this sustainable community will be part of the planet Earth, for example. And we move into the last sign, which is a sign of Pisces. It rules the feet and the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is we're creating, how do we create red blood cells to be healthy? When we have a swollen lymph, it's usually because we have a disease or an infection. Swollen lymph glands in the throat, under the arms. It's part of being having a cold. No, that we get the huge accumulation of lymph when we have a tendency to heavier diet, because the lymph as well as the venous blood flow has to come up against the force of gravity up into the heart. And so if we have a lot of protein matter in the lymph, it drops out, and where it accumulates is usually, it ends up being a sign of disease. I really don't. I have to study it. I have to go look at it. Better look. But Pisces rules the feet and the lymphatic system. Mutable sign, water, very emotional on Pisces. Everything is done from the emotional point of view. Easily influenced. So maybe I'm not Pisces, but I have my sun in the 12th house in Leo, which is a fixed fire sign. And maybe I have... there are 10 planets, I think, 6 of which are personal planets, 6 or 7, I don't remember. No, 6, because Mercury repeats and Venus repeats. They might have a tendency to be more poetic, maybe they're going to be an artist, maybe they're going to be in film, maybe they write fantasy stories and they'll play act them. They're probably awesome with school kids, very creative because of the dose of Pisces. Pisces is the accumulation of all the signs. If we were born Pisces, as far as reincarnation is concerned, supposedly we're born male. We go through all the signs. and then female through all the signs. We've been reincarnated quite a few times. Very sensitive, the fields of the Pisces, the esoteric arts, being artsy, painting, singers. Probably need a good dosage of Leo too, though, because Pisces can be shy because we're very sensitive, and until we become aware of our energy field, where it begins and ends, and the other person's, we might not even know who we are. So definitely disciplines from the East, yoga or meditation. It's a great tool because we become aware of who I am and who's the other without being unduly influenced. And okay, so let's go into the personal planets. There's Jupiter, which is so huge, the whole solar system can sit in it. Mars, which is our action. Mercury, our way of talking and using our hands. The sun and the moon. Venus and Venus. Those are the 6 personal signs. So they affect us personally. And then we have Saturn, Pluto, Uranus. Saturn, Pluto, Uranus. I think something might be missing there. But those are generational signs. They affect us as a whole, like the whole Earth. Now with Saturn and Pluto, Saturn is a generational. It's more every 10 years. But Pluto, Uranus, we're affecting the whole Earth. 84 years for Uranus to go around to come back to your sun. So if we get to live 84 years, we're in a Uranus return. And it's going to probably be, I can't even imagine how many, especially being born in the early 1900s, how much change these people have experienced from not even having a television to having a phone that has it all, So it's a generational thing, how we're all being affected by Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn, wars that could be bubbling up, how we're all being forced to look at how we're living our lives. That's basically the truth. How am I channeling my energy? That's how I feel Saturn and Pluto. Or how are my relationships? It's all individual as according to how it falls in the different zodiac houses or of the chart itself. But as an overall, come on, everybody, all the inhabitants that are Earthlings on planet Earth are going through some kind of change. It could even be a ton of, Saturn and Capricorn, or Saturn, when we're going into Saturn return, could be a death of a ton of close ones. Could be a divorce. So everybody's going through something. That's my overall on it right now. Do you have any questions?
I have so many questions. That is amazing. That was amazing. Like the complete overview. I wasn't able to take notes, but I'm thinking I need to go back and listen to this a few times because there's so much value, so much information for each sign and everything. It's like about reincarnation. I have a million questions. It might take like forever just for you to answer them. So let me ask some of the main ones that I was thinking about. So I totally believe this stuff, and I'm actually taking a course about Ayurvedic astrology and how it's different from the Western one. And I haven't gotten to that chapter yet. But so what is the difference between the two?
Well, the Ayurvedic astrology, I don't practice it. It's much more complex to learn, but it's an older system. Could be much more on the system. Ayurveda works with the moon. It works 30 degrees. Like if I have my moon is in Virgo, it'll be 30 degrees beforehand. It'll be a Leo. So and it's represented by the moon. So in Ayurveda, instead of having a full moon in Virgo, I'd have a full moon in Leo, which for me makes a lot of sense because it's in order for me to to be of any service in the world. Pisces, Virgo, Virgo. How many more people can I touch now? So with Leo, a full moon in Leo, I like to be seen as far as serving. It's so different. I mean, I couldn't even go there. I think they have the same planets, but then they also have different nodes. It's much more complex. I mean, when you're born in India years ago, I don't know if they do it now. It depends, I guess, what sect you're still in, what your religious or belief system is, Sagittarius. They can foresee your whole life by looking at your chart, because it's a science. But I couldn't even tell you. You could tell me more about Ayurvedic astrology than Western astrology.
Once I'm done with that course, I'll definitely tell you about it. That is so interesting.
Then we can join forces.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking, I can't wait till my birth chart to be done. So that's really exciting. I'm gonna get my birth chart done, and I can't wait for that. I still haven't submitted all my information yet. I gotta get to that. So because people say the soul, the spirit chooses chooses their parents and when to basically enter the female's body and everything. And so how does that work in terms of the spirit deciding when? And I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. Like, I'm born 6 weeks early, so like I wanted to be at the end of Aries, but I ended up being the beginning of Pisces. I wanted to be Pisces. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'm just only studied. Basically, I use the astrology as a tool for self-help, for self-love. And so that's basically the only thing I've like, that's interesting. I'll go think about it and be with that with the astrology, but I haven't thought of that. But when I'm looking at a chart, I'll look at a chart as to where am I in my evolutionary process. But I don't know. Whenever I talk about that, I always say, we've chose all this. We just are here remembering. That's all because it is the truth.
So how would it, what if somebody basically, instead of a natural birth, like, what if somebody says, okay, I'm going to schedule the C-section at this time. I choose the day when my baby's going to be born rather than just let it happen. How's that going to affect the reading?
Well, I mean, I guess they already have that. They have that accordance anyways before they came in, no? They all came into agreement. Hey, man, this is, I want you to choose, or I'm helping you choose. Because in the end, somehow we're all interrelated. It's just energy moving. So who knows? I don't know. Everything happens for a good reason. I just have to find that reason. For me, there's no other way to look at it. Otherwise, what are we doing? First of all, we're here as light beings in an outfit that maybe I don't even feel fits me now. And because then we're having our, am I heterosexual, am I bisexual, am I trans? No, I mean, we have so much of that prevalent right now and that has a lot to do with Pluto and Capricorn. We're blowing out the boundaries of what we label ourselves to be. And so everything, it can only happen for something good. That's all I can say. What about the doctors that are planning the C-section so they can go play golf? Now, as the joke goes, how's that affecting us? Is that part of our big plan as well? I mean, I don't know. I had a home birth because I was afraid to go to the hospital. That's it. Yeah. Basically.
So in terms of balancing those, like, let's just say one is more than the other and that's causing issues, and how do you find a balance and correct that through, like, I don't know, the different ways of modalities? How do you work with the clients?
And to help them, I have to look at their chart, because I'll work with everything. I'll look at their chart and I'll notice if a relationship has a big theme in their lives. Now, I have the Sun and Mars in the 7th house. Relationship is the theme of my life. This is a relationship. Doing teacher trainings is a relationship. Bodywork's relationship. Everything's relationship. So I'll look at that, and then I'll look at the different planets and where they fall and the different signs. And then we'll probably start discussing how we're feeding ourselves physically with food, and go from there. How am I helping myself in the arts, emotionally and mentally? Usually anything that I recommend is because I've done it myself and it's helped me in my evolution on planet Earth. No. I haven't always been this groovy. I didn't remember I was always this groovy.
That's awesome. So, what would you tell people? Like you did let's just say you did a reading for somebody, and the person read it and he didn't believe it, what it says on the chart. Or how do you approach that?
Well, usually it's going to ring true. Something in there is going to ring. It's going to have a value of truth. Well, how do I deal with that? I can't tell them. That's their belief system. All I can say, I don't know. That's so general, but it's their belief system. But if I were sitting with them or video chatting or texting back and forth about the chart, I could be more specific, and I could maybe help them see the science of it. But, if I don't believe in it, I'm probably not going to invest in it either. So I don't know if I'd have that situation. Because to get a reading, it's an investment, generally speaking.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they're just curious and then try to prove you wrong or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking like random.
Well, I'll find something to pique their interest even more, without a doubt. It'll pop out of the chart at me. That's my job. That's one of my jobs here, is to convince you of our being a light being, have an experience on planet Earth. Yeah. We're not supposed to. We are constrained. We're on planet Earth. It's Saturn oriented. We don't have the freedom. We have the force of gravity, which is like a huge hug of the Mother Earth being the mother. We can never float away to space. Now, we're always protected.
That's true. And I'm thinking maybe the person not like believing it, but wanting a chart is because they're not knowing, like not understanding it. And then I think once maybe just like if they understand it, they'll be like, oh, now it's interesting to me is because now I understand it more. And they're seeing
Exactly.
their personality or behavior or symptoms. They're gonna be like, oh, it associated with the chart, so now it all makes sense. And then they'll be like, oh, now I'm interested, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You have to. I would have part of my job in that moment would be to, geez, how can I pull out one of these planets that's in a certain sign and have them feel the relevance, not just intellectualize it, but to be the relevance. That's really what will pique their interest. And that's really about Saturn and Capricorn. Wait till Saturn goes into Aquarius. How many more people will be more interested in everything that we're doing? They say that the new great profession within the next, 10 to 20 years is the esoteric arts. It'll have the weight of being a lawyer or a doctor today. Energy medicine. Everything the way we're doing it is pretty apparent it's not working that well right now. We're sick. We can't even get better. A new dis-ease shows up every day. Our food, our houses, our grocery stores. We don't even know what long shelf life food does. I mean, it's only been on the market since the 50s or 60s. We haven't studied it. And so no matter what, when Saturn goes into Aquarius, for me, it'll just also be a bigger boom, a more visual boom of change, of people looking to fulfill themselves, because what they're doing just isn't they don't feel fulfilled. They don't feel content. I think that we're happy or content because we're fulfilled. We're being present. I don't know.
That's so interesting. So what about in terms of like compatibility? Like sometimes, I remember when like during those dating days back then, I used to look at the charts and see the compatibility chart out.
I do that for my girlfriends. Hey, let's take a look at that guy. See if he's any good. No, just kidding. Um, sure, there's a ton. Like the best for me, the best is when like I have my sun sign in Pisces, and then my partner would have the moon sign in Pisces, that we reflect each other. For whatever reason, though, I have to tell you, as far as opposites attract, Scorpio and Taurus, like I know so many Scorpio Taurus relationships that have been doing it for a good 40 years, and they're happy. And they're happy. They wouldn't think of anything else. So, but yeah, I'd have to look at the chart, but there's certain things that I'll mix in. And it piques my curiosity. In whatever training I'm doing, I will, I will offer the services of a chart reading, not a profound one, maybe, but depends. But I'll do a chart just because I want to see everybody's chart and why are we all attracted to each other? What's going on here? Like this last teacher training I finished, it was only 7 of us, but out of the 7, there were 4 Scorpios and 5 Taurus risings. I mean, there's something to it. So like, I really would love to make a huge mandala of all the charts. But yeah, as far as I wouldn't use a chart to find my partner. I would listen to myself, but they could be a physical confirmation of what I'm experiencing, because paper's physical now. But yeah, opposites. Or if I'm Scorpio, somebody with Mars and Scorpio would complement me, because we have a lot of the same ways of approaching life. If we're born in the same year, we're going to have the same generational aspects. Like maybe we all have, like this year, where's Jupiter? Well, this year, we all have Saturn and Capricorn. We'll have that outlook on life. I think Jupiter's in Scorpio this year. No, Jupiter's in its natal Sagittarius. Sorry, guys. It's very early here. So Jupiter's in its natal Sagittarius this year. So, like, if we were even born this year, 2019, all of us are going to have Sagittarius and Jupiter in Sagittarius. We'll all have that same outlook of wanting to be free, of wanting to be in the great outdoors, sports-oriented, physically oriented, loving a good party. Now, we'll all have that in common. But yeah, I would use a chart. I do use a chart for my friends when they have a new person that they're dating, without specifying gender preference. It's a sensitive. That's a sensitive subject these days. Gender sense and preference.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm a Scorpio, and I happen to either pretty much like work with people and just like have friends, and my husband is also Sagittarius. I happen to be connected to Sagittarius.
Is your question? Well, no, I'd have to look at both of your charts. Maybe you have Mercury in Sagittarius. Maybe you have Sag rising. Maybe your moon's in Sagittarius. Maybe you have Mars in Sag. Maybe his is moon in Scorpio. Maybe he has Mercury retrograde. He has Mercury in Scorpio. Now there's so many different things besides our sun that will reflect everything. There's a lot there. There's so much more than our sun signs. Now, and as far as Mercury retrograde is concerned, which is we're about to go into another Mercury retrograde. Okay, our planets don't go backwards. They seem like they're going backwards. I think they move slower as opposed to how the Earth is moving. If we're born supposedly with Mercury retrograde, we could have learning difficulties at the beginning of our lives. I'm Mercury retrograde. I had a ton. I had to even take course, in elementary school. I had to take stuff over during the summer. Mercury retrograde has a really bad rap. Yes, when Mercury retrograde, if Mercury is going slower or whatever, and I'm not going slower, there's greater chance of an injury, of cutting myself, without a doubt, banging myself. All of a sudden, the corners are like bigger, or my hips are in the way. Now I'm hitting myself and bruising myself somewhere. Computers may break down. Communication, planes are canceled. Lots of traffic on the highway. All that's for sure. Communication breakdown. But Mercury retrograde is also a great time to finish projects, to go back and review a project, to go back and like, where is my belief system now? How am I now? And Mercury retrograde, I think, is 4 times a year. No? I don't know. I have to look that up. But, and so if it's that, it lasts 21 days, and then we have a shadow period, which is 10 days before and 10 days after, we're looking at a 50-day cycle of 360 days out of the year. I'm not going to allow a planet to run my life. Being and playing with astrology now, interpreting astrology, I'm not going to let Mercury plan my life, because otherwise, I mean, I'm not experiencing any Sagittarius vibration here. There is no freedom of movement. If I'm being so mentally and afraid, it's a lot of fear too, as far as I'm concerned. But Mercury retrograde is just something that happens. Venus goes retrograde, Mars goes retrograde, but it's not as prevalent. But all the planets have that. I mean, right now we have Jupiter retrograde until I think the 15th of August. And so our belief systems were really being the last, I think, since May. So we've had like 4 months of being flat in our face of our belief system. Is this really what I want? Is this the guy I really want to be with? Is that the girl I want to be with? Am I really studying the right thing? Am I in the right work? And so deciding that, it's usually better until Jupiter goes direct, because Jupiter is not going to go retrograde for a long period of time, a couple times a year, generally speaking.
Oh, okay. You got to my next question, which was about the retrograde. So you answered that already. That's awesome. So how do you so now let's just say you're able to, look at the calendar and know when those retrogrades are coming, and what could you do? Is it possible to like do things differently or be more cautious, more careful to avoid some of those?
Well, on the 25th of this month, because not like I have it all written down on my calendar or anything like that, but on the 25th of this month, like, I must have banged into the wall a couple times, and then I got a document from a lawyer that couldn't have been more wrong. And so I said to my husband, I'm going to go look up and see if we're in the shadow period of Mercury. And we are. The 25th to the 7th is a shadow period. And so now, yeah, I would even say, hey, just be patient in case I don't show up on time, or my son, I would be more careful on the roads, because it doesn't depend on you. No, because of traffic, more accidents. We could be more accident prone. My computer won't pick up internet. No. And so maybe it's just a momentary thing. And so, yeah, I would bring that into awareness. But again, I'm not going to make my life rigid by living by X rules. That's very Capricorn. And I have to live my life as it's coming. But yeah, I'd be more careful around knives, just be more present. Maybe I'm not going to talk to 7 people while I'm cutting the vegetables so I don't cut off a fingertip. Be more with what I'm doing in the moment instead of being everywhere at once.
So like I was born in China. So, and also, different parts of the world, like people born at different places. And does that make a difference in terms of the reading? And of course, you would say the time zone and everything when you enter into the chart, right?
Well, that will affect the rising sign. But I'm saying, culturally speaking, you come with a generation of different cultural beliefs than we do. So, I mean, that's affecting your energy system anyways. That's why I just started dipping into solar returns using the personality aspect as well. The whole thing, um, eh, because maybe I moved, and so how's my chart going to reflect me this year as opposed to last year when I lived somewhere else? But of course, it'll affect you. But it's also affecting your belief system is affecting you. You come into it with a different belief system, whether it's conscious or unconscious. When did you move to the States?
When I was 10.
Oh, you're dosed with a big dosage. Well, that's nice. You bring a great richness to your family. No, but it's like you come in with a different vibration, so of course it's going to affect you. It's different. It's a different energy field. If I'm born in Italy as opposed to being born in Cuba, it's a whole different energy field. If I'm born even if I'm born in Maine as opposed to Southern California, it's a different energy field. No, it's gonna affect our energy patterns. In the end, we're just 53 billion cells all bouncing around. We just seem like we're physical. Yeah. And maybe if we think about that a little bit more, bring in a little bit more consciousness, we're not going to put so much junk into the machine. All the purples and greens and MSG and everything else, because this is a machine that we chose, that we were born on a certain day to live a certain dharma, purpose, which are multifaceted as far as I'm concerned. No, I mean, especially being a female, being a mother, a wife, and a professional. It's extremely multifaceted. To use an idiom of the earth plane, there's just not enough hours in the day. But I try not, I'm very conscious of what comes out of my mouth. Like, my intention is to avoid saying things like that. As you know, you got to go home. You have your young one.
What else? Oh, it's so dynamic. Like, not only do you have to look at the chart, you have to look at, like, like you said, where it's from and everything. Well, another question. Since I'm Chinese, and then Asian cultures look at the 12 zodiac signs, and how is that?
Well, you guys have a whole different interpretation. I couldn't tell you. I'm a dragon.
Oh, yeah.
I work with the Chinese signs because I work with the elements, because the elements are different organs as well. Like, I'm a wood element, so my emotion is anger. My the action is to scream. I'm ruled by the liver and the gallbladder. So naturally, I'm really sensitive to fatty, sugary foods. I don't digest them. They literally give me a hangover. And I don't, it's another reason why I'm sugar sensitive, so I can't drink. Alcohol is sugar, it's fermented fruit or vegetables, usually speaking. Yeah. So I can't, before I'll get high on drinking, I'll probably vomit. No. So what's the point? Yeah. I prefer to feel better. I have no idea, but I use the elements, and I'll look at your Chinese sign because it is going to paint your personality. Like a dragon, monkey, and rats, supposedly we're best friends. The dog is the opposite of the dragon. And so the dog is loyal and he's mellow. He doesn't want all the dramatics of a dragon. So maybe we're not going to be the bestest of friends, or maybe we're not going to be lovers. But actually, I'm with a goat. And so, being the conscious being that I am. No, his moon reflects my sun. But sometimes it's like that personality of the goat is like, just doesn't fly with the dragon who's mythical. Yeah. So that influences, that's all I know. You can bring much more to the table. That's an interesting combination with Ayurveda and the Chinese. That's really cool to put all that, because I can't personally use, but I'm Pisces, so I'm an accumulation of 12 signs. I can't use one system or another. We're a combination of everything. And in one moment of my life, maybe one system will work better than another system when I'm working with people. When I'm working with people, the idea is empowerment. How can I help this person be empowered? Usually begins with diet. and then I'll look at the functional diet for the astrology. Because, going back to if I'm a car, I'm not going to put diesel in an unleaded gas car. And being a car, we put all sorts of junk into this vehicle. And that really affects our mind. It affects our joints. It affects everything. So that's how I use the tool of astrology. If somebody's coming to me and they want some advice or direction with nutrition, I'll look at their chart. Besides, the boyfriend or the girlfriend or whatever it is. No. Or even living, but I don't really work on that much. I am not that oriented with that. It's more personality and relationships. That's what basically, there you go, 7th house sun and Mars and in Pisces, relationships. It's more about relationships. Yeah.
That's great. So you do readings, and like I said, I can't wait for mine. Really excited.
I do a written reading and an oral, because the oral will be a little bit different from the written interpretation. And so we can do video chats. You can come to Costa Rica. You can fly me wherever you are, or I can tape it. Yeah.
Awesome. And we talked about that we would have a special for our listeners. And are you still there? Oh, you didn't freeze up. I thought you froze up. Okay, yeah. All right. So if you use the code Yogacises, you will get a special deal. And so that'll be a great opportunity to get a reading from somebody who's really knowledgeable about astrology and like looking at it holistically, and then find a solution for whatever you're dealing with, right?
You're right, to find that contentment. What will ground me? What will bring me into the present? Because with projecting, we as human beings or human doings, we have a tendency to project the past onto an unknown future. And that creates a lot of nervousness.
Okay, great. And just like the first part of the interview, I'll share all the links below, and how listeners can reach out to you if they have questions and if they want a reading, etc.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Pam. I want to go to New York, or you guys can come visit me here.
Yeah, definitely. When this craziness over and everything, I'll definitely chat, and then we can figure something out.
Yeah, maybe we'll end up playing and actually make a retreat. We can.
Oh yeah.
But in another 10, 15 years, you're pretty busy right now. You got a newborn, but it's not part of the interview. Another 10 or 15 years, or even sooner, you never know. As you becoming more knowledgeable in Ayurveda, that's part of the new age of Aquarius. Is how can we all work together in the greater service?
Right.
I look forward to doing your chart too, Pam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. Can't wait to share it with everybody.
Thank you for being my new friend.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and I'm very interested. I'm going to look up everything to strengthen the uterus and everything. See what's going on there. But it's very Scorpio. It is. It is. Okay, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Yeah.